Hello and welcome. We are live and we are on a new platform right now. So hopefully we'll be having some viewers from Twitch joining us. I have Kyle joining me, which is a surprise. I thought I'd be doing this as a solo pod. So Kyle, first I just want to congratulate you and Carlene, and for all of our viewers. You have a happy, healthy baby boy.
Yes, sir. Jack Warren. Jack Warren Gilmore was born on September 17th, 9:03 a.m. 5 pounds, 15 ounce, healthy little baby. Mama's doing good, so that makes me happy.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic news. Happy for you guys, obviously, but
Thank you.
little guy, cute little
Yeah,
peanut.
newest member of Square State Sandlot.
All right. With that, we'll get to the sports talk, and we're going to be talking about our Wyoming Cowboys. They had a fantastic upset win over Air Force, won 17-14. We were both predicting a lot less of a showing. I'm sure some of the Air Force injuries and sickness had something to do with it. They were missing, I think, 3 key contributors and 5 players overall. 3 of them were on the cornerback and wide receiver position. So obviously that probably had something to do with Wyoming being able to execute on offense and defense a lot better than we were expecting. But did you get to see that game at all?
Yeah, I got to watch. Yeah, I mean, I got to watch most of it. I was flipping through channels a lot during that game. Um, but so I'm super happy we won, obviously. Neither one of us thought that that was even in the cards. Um, but with that being said, I still saw a lot that frustrated me. Um, a lot of our play calling is still a little suspect. Um, we got bailed out with our run game and our running backs, which I mean is fine when it works. When it doesn't work, that's when we're obviously in bad situations. But mostly, I'm so confused by this team. I don't know how we play the cupcake team, so to speak, and look horrible, and then the supposed best Air Force team in years, and we show up and pop them in the mouth and walk out of there with a win. So all in all, I'm happy about it, but I'm so confused by this team. I'm hoping they can string a few of these together and get that identity and run with it.
Well, and where you said you still see a lot of things to be discouraged about, I'm taking the other side, which is not like
That's
me,
good.
but
That's good.
I did see a lot of progression in terms of what Peasley's doing with the football. He definitely has been a lot more confident in his throws and a lot more accurate in the last 2 games. Obviously, the
Totally agree
last
with
game
that.
against Northern Colorado, it took until middle of the third quarter before they start to open the playbook, and it seemed right off the bat that in this game against Air Force, they were doing those screen passes to get him at least in the flow of the game where he's not airing it out, just quick passes to the wide receivers or running backs, and then once he's dialed in, they were expanding the playbook, and they didn't wait till the second half. They started doing that almost immediately. So, and then with that being said, I mean, then you have the opening in the run game for Titus Swen and McNeely, and that combo I think is going to be really special if they can keep this going because
As long as
uh,
it's working.
yeah, I mean Titus Swen is that bruiser, and then McNeely, I think once he gets that club off his hand, he's going to be even more of a weapon because he can catch the ball out of the backfield. So, but he's the lightning, and Titus Swen is the thunder. So we haven't seen that combo in quite a while, at least in the Wyoming backfield.
Yeah.
So that's going to be pretty good going forward. And I guess a quick shout out to Easton Gibbs. He was sick. They didn't think he was going to play, and in fact, he didn't start the game, but he ended up coming in. He was throwing up all night the night before and even the day before. So he lost 12 pounds and still ended up coming in and making an impact in the game. And Wyoming sort of becoming a factory for inside linebackers, and it seems like he may be the
It's
next one.
so weird.
It is, especially when
It's weird to me that,
they're from
and
Wyoming
it's
too.
not. I know, and it's not just that it's a linebacker core though either. It's the same position. Like it's not like you're pulling people off of the entire linebacking core. It's like I don't know what we're doing there with those guys in the middle controlling the defense, but I mean, if I was an NFL team, I want one of these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're anything like Logan Wilson.
Yeah, Logan Wilson, Chad Moon is playing really well for Jacksonville right now, so
Yes.
not a bad little deal there. And then I just wanted to shout out Cobbs as well. I mean, he had one drop
It was a
that,
big step up.
yeah, I mean, he had one drop that was catchable, but I mean, he was a little behind him. But every other ball that came his way, he caught and was getting plenty
I
of
think
yards after
the
catch. So
I think the biggest thing with Cobbs that was impressive is you could see Air Force starting to adjust to him.
yep,
Um, and we need that. I mean, if you're gonna do this ground and pound, run and have the run game be our heart and soul, you have to have that threat there on occasion. So I thought it was a big step up for him. Like I said, I don't mean to be doom and gloom all the time, but um, I'm hoping that some of this will help them string some things together because we still have a lot of really tough teams to play. So
yeah.
um,
Well,
I
and
don't know. I'm just really hopeful.
one other encouraging, I mean, we've talked about Parker Christensen before. He had a big play where he, acted like he was blocking at the start of the play. And then as soon as they took their focus off of him, he popped out in the flat, caught the ball and took it for, I think it was like 37 yards to put us right next to the end zone. So he's
Yep,
looking great at tight end, both blocking in the run game and making plays on his feet when he catches the football. So that, like I said, a lot of things to be encouraged about. But how are you feeling about this matchup where they're going to meet up with former Mountain West Conference rival BYU in Provo on ESPN2 on Saturday night?
all right. Two things here. First of all, I mean, like we talked a bit when we had Paulie on, like these old rivalry games I live for, and I hate that they don't happen as often as they used to. And I realize maybe not everybody knows that BYU and Wyoming have a rivalry, but for us here in Wyoming, it's a big deal. Um, I don't know. I'm torn. Like I would have never guessed we could pull out a win against Air Force.
Yep.
So um, I don't know. I think BYU's down right now, so maybe I don't know. Maybe we run all over them. I mean, if the run game can get going and we can control the tempo of the game, then why not?
Yeah.
Screw it. I'll get off my negativity for the season and say hell yeah.
Yeah, and this is a BYU team that was ranked 12 prior to the absolute boat race that Oregon did to them. I think Oregon was
They
up
did not
38
look
to
like 12.
7 at one point. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean Tyler Hall is a great quarterback for BYU. They have some offensive weapons out on the exterior. I mean, really, their defensive line is a strength as well. So it's going to be strength against strength on when Wyoming has the football, and I don't know. We'll have to see how the secondary holds up. I really hope that the whole rivalry thing keeps it a lot closer than it's expected to be,
for
and
sure.
obviously we're hoping for the upset win. I know there's a few BYU specific chants that we have as well, so
Huh. Yeah, maybe a couple.
hopefully the Pokes fans show up in Provo and make it at least not as one-sided out there in the crowd. So
Yeah.
you got anything else you wanted to add to the Poke stuff before we move on?
I don't think so. Just obviously, thanks for proving me wrong. Again, I didn't think we had a shot in that game. I was just hoping to at least be competitive, and all right, made me eat my words. So go Pokes. Let's do it again.
Yep. All right, and then you had a note in here about your Pittsburgh
uh,
Panthers.
I mean, talking about cupcakes and stuff. They played Western Michigan this past weekend, and they actually upset Pitt last year. They won like 43-41. It was horrible. So it was nice for them to come in and win. But where the big story was, if anybody who was watching I think it was the last pod, their last game, they ended up on their third string quarterback,
Yep.
and even he was getting beat to hell. So they actually rolled out a rookie freshman, freshman quarterback Nate Yarnell, and he came in and don't get me wrong, Israel Abanikanda controlled that entire game. I mean, he ran like a monster, and that's what got the win. But Yarnell came in and managed the game, threw some beautiful throws. At the end of the day, if I was those other three quarterbacks, I would be nervous.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to end up starter, but I think he's going to be above at least one of the three. So that was kind of cool. Granted, it is Western Michigan. It's a team they're supposed to beat, but having a freshman come in like that and play very, very well was really fun to watch. So,
Yeah, no, it's special to see when freshmen come in and make an impact because you don't really expect much out of them being, 18, 19 years old. So, all right, well, we'll move on to the meat and potatoes of this podcast, and that's going to be the NFL for the next little bit. We had a little good news here, and that's that the Bills absolutely rolled the Titans. And quite honestly, I don't think there's a team that's going to compete with the Bills this season. They appear to be the best team, head and shoulders above the rest of the league in terms of what they can do offensively and defensively. Even when they make mistakes, I mean, they're still just,
and
killing other
that's
teams.
it.
So
To your point, I mean, if they're going to lose these games, they're going to be losing these games, in my opinion. It's not going to be somebody beating them. They're just so stacked. It's going to be them dropping the ball if they lose some of these big, the important games, be it down the stretch or the playoffs. They're just, I mean, if you aren't a big football fan and you're just like entertainment, they're just a fun team to watch. Um, there's there's something special about turning on national broadcast and seeing Wyoming Cowboys 17s in the crowd.
yep.
It's not something we get on our end very often, so it's very, very special. I will never get past how many people love him now. I mean, you go back to the draft, you go back to the pre-draft. There was a lot of. In fact, I will say this: if you're bored, go back and look at his draft grades
Yep.
and look at all the experts and how they broke him down and what their expectations were. Granted, I get that, it's hard to be spot on all the time with this stuff, but I mean, we knew he was special, and I love seeing just how right we were. Oh my God, he's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
He's so
And
happy. His teammates love him. It
it's
makes me
funny
happy.
because on the broadcast they were showing all the quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round his same year back in 2018, and they were
Mhm.
showing that Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold both went before him, and I was just like, oh my God, I still
Can you
can't
believe
believe that.
that?
No. And honestly, even though we had Derek Carr, I was still like, the Raiders have to find a way to
Absolutely.
get him. But
I
anyway,
was hoping for the Big Ben replacement to be a big Hulk and Josh Allen, but
yeah.
obviously didn't happen.
But just a couple updates from that. Dane Jackson, the cornerback that ended
Oh
up
yeah.
getting a neck and spine injury, they said he's all clear. Essentially, they took him out of the critical care. They're basically just monitoring him for progress, but he has movement in all extremities and everything like that. So it looks like he avoided any major injury. So shout out. Hopefully he just continues to do better and get clear on that, because it's always scary when you see the ambulance come out in the middle of a football game. So, and
Yeah.
then just one other note, their offensive lineman got suspended for a game. He apparently after the game went to find someone on the defensive line to punch them and ended up punching one of the Titans coaches. So he got suspended a game, and obviously you don't like to see that in professional football because, between the lines I can see, but after the game there's no reason to be seeking someone out to hurt them or something.
That's
So
so stupid.
yeah, I mean
Oh
that's
my
that's
God.
the thing. I think if anything's going to take the Bills down, it's going to be discipline issues, things like that.
Right.
Um, just unspeakable
Yeah.
issues
I don't
like
want to
that.
say what could possibly
Yeah,
derail them,
yeah,
but
injuries, anything like that. But I mean,
right.
like I said, far and above everyone else. It looks like a lot of people are putting the Chiefs in with them as well, but I still think the
It's not the
Chargers
same.
exposed some of the weaknesses that the Chiefs have. So we'll see. Obviously, we're only I think 12% through the season. Each game's about 6% in a 17
Yeah.
game season. So a lot of time to see where things go with that. But speaking of not having a good start, that is my Raiders. 0-2. I'm just curious to get your take on this. Do you think it's panic time in Vegas?
Oh, um, I don't want to say panic time, but in that division, you just can't afford this kind of a slow start because I think the Chiefs and even the Chargers are going to put it together more as the season goes on. And hell, I'll even give the Broncos. They're probably going to gel more as the season goes on. So I'm a little discouraged, Bill, by what I've seen so far. Um, I don't know. It's tough because of who you played. I hate them so much. No, I'm just kidding. I hate Kyler Murray, but they do have that big play potential. That 20-second play was just
Oh
stupid.
God.
It's I don't understand.
Yeah,
Um,
they said he ran 85 yards on a 2-point conversion and ended
and
up
that's
getting
what I
in there.
mean. Like that, I guess that's my thing is I think I want to call them fluke plays. I think your defense dropped the ball,
Well,
but all
uh,
in all, I think you had a better game than they did.
oh, for sure. It
It's
that's the
so
frustrating thing
frustrating.
is like I don't know how they don't make the adjustment during that game to put a spy
Yeah.
on him because if you look at that 2-point conversion, that I mean, he had nowhere to go with that ball. They were blanketing every single wide receiver, running back, tight end that he had out there on the field.
Yeah.
But what they didn't have is someone following him. So you had two big, 300-pound guys trying to keep contain on him. And I mean, he's a fast little midget. So I don't
And more,
understand how we don't have someone that's athletic like a Divine Diablo, a very athletic
yeah.
linebacker, just
The
following him.
other the other side of it though is that situation should have never happened.
No.
Unfortunately, even your best players have bad games,
Yep.
frustrating games. The two fumbles by Hunter,
Yep.
they're heartbreaking. And one of them I don't hold him accountable for at
For
all.
sure.
It was a perfectly placed helmet right on his elbow and ball. Um, those things happen. The other one, yes, I'm going to say is
You
a
got to
big
have two
time
hands on the ball.
oops.
Yep.
Um,
I
and
mean,
I
to
think
be
that was
fair,
just backbreaking.
he,
I think it demoralized everybody.
he did go into concussion protocols after that hit.
It
So
was
I'm
a
sure that
nasty
had
hit.
something to do with it. But yeah, I mean, after you fumble once,
Yeah.
there's got to be a certain sense of I've got to have two hands on the ball, especially 2 plays later. But I guess real quick, that it was a 20-point collapse, which has never happened in Raiders history before, and that's dating back to like I think their first year was 1960, if I remember right. So, I mean, we're talking 60. What is that? 62 years of history hasn't happened before. So that's obviously not great.
Rough.
And then when they were up 23-7 in the fourth quarter, rather than trying to run some clock off, they threw the ball 3 times in a row. One of them went out of bounds, two were incomplete, and they end up punting after burning. I think it was only like, I can't remember if it was 9 seconds or 29 seconds, but either way, one run would have burnt more clock than they did on 3 entire
Yeah.
plays. So that's not great, especially when it came down to the last few seconds of the game. The Cardinals probably wouldn't have had enough time to make that comeback. But that was the most frustrating thing about it is up 20 at halftime. I'm already saying like there's no way they can blow this game. And then,
Yeah.
they score a touchdown, Raiders kick a field goal. I'm still feeling like, well, okay, they're down
Still in
16.
hand.
That's 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions. Those are all not likely to happen. Well, then they get touchdown, 2-point conversion, get another touchdown, and then we see that crazy play at the end where he darts an absolute missile into the back of the end zone. I still think that ball hit the ground, but like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you don't play
Shouldn't
defense.
have
That's
been in
what's
that
gonna, yeah.
situation.
And
Right.
I can't blame the defense either because they were on the field for 51 plays because the
Yeah.
offense could not get a first down. And at some point, Josh McDaniels has to make some adjustments and say, hey, I mean, we need to burn the clock. I know you don't want to just go completely conservative, but at the same time, you can't just be bombing incompletions left and right, because that's not burning up any clock. And, he's been a coach before. That didn't go well. He's been a great offensive coordinator, so you feel like he's been in these situations before. You got to keep your foot on the pedal, but at the same time, you can't go completely just bonkers with these play calls. So I don't think it's panic time yet. I mean, like I said, we're only 12% through the season. If you look at playoff teams from last year, you have the Colts that are 0-2, or I guess 0-1-1, and then you have the Bengals that are 0-2. You have the Titans that are 0-2 that we face this upcoming week. So there's plenty of teams that were in the playoffs last year that are struggling. And like I said, Bills are probably top of the AFC conference. I think the Chiefs will be there as well. But I think the rest of the teams are head and shoulders below those two teams. So I feel like, you might get in with a wild card at 9-7.
Oh, absolutely.
AFC South might have a team with a losing record that gets in because of how awful they look. So I don't want to say, our season's over. Obviously, losing a 20-point lead in historic fashion, that's not something that you want to hang your hat on. And if they don't get things turned around, we are going to be talking about, next year pretty soon. So I think if they go into Tennessee and lose to the Titans, we might be having that conversation after next week. So this is I don't want to say it's a must win, because you still have 14 games after.
Yeah.
But if you want to make the playoffs and you have the Chargers, Chiefs in your division, it's going to be tough sledding to get in with those two teams. So
that's a race in that division. I mean, it really is, and you got to keep up.
I don't want to, write off the Broncos, but they lost to the Seahawks, that many people think are going to be the worst team in football, and they barely beat the Texans, that are probably the second worst team in football. So I don't think there's much optimism there, especially if you look at Broncos fans. I'm sure you have a few that you're friends with, what they've been saying. So, but I do think there's a couple adjustments we need to make right now, and that is we have $14 million left in salary cap. So I think we need to sign Ndamukong Suh immediately if he's in shape and they think he can help at all, because who hasn't been showing up? That's Chandler Jones. We gave him $32 million guaranteed over, I think, $51 million total over 3 seasons. And through 2 games, he's made 1 play. And that is just, absolutely
not good enough.
Unacceptable. You get all that money. You have Max Crosby on the other side taking up double teams, and you can't get home once.
Should be easy.
And we've got nothing up the middle either. So that's why I'm saying, if you think Ndamukong Suh can help, and he's asking for $7 million at this point, give it to him. You still got $7 million. Yeah, he should have brought him in before when training camp was still going. But and then just lastly, I got one note. Kyler Murray got punched in the face at the end of the game celebrating next to the Raiders fans, which obviously a stupid move on his part.
Yeah.
But the fan that hit him, I don't feel like there's any room for that in sports. And unfortunately, it's becoming a more common theme. You see all these idiot fans doing things in stadiums. So I think the NFL needs to take some action on that and say, if you get caught doing something like this, you're not coming to this stadium, and you're not going to any of the other stadiums, because it's just unacceptable. And then Benny put a comment in, and he said the Raiders blew it. So did the Steelers. Big win by Wyoming after being a 16.5-point dog. Utes got revenge on San Diego State, and BYU lost. All good. And then he said Judge just hit his number 60th homer. So that's
I know.
He needs one more to tie Roger Maris's record for single season home runs in the AL and the Yankees, and 2 more to beat him. So impressive.
I thought we were going to pull off the win. We ended up losing 9-8.
Are they playing you guys?
Yeah, they had
just serving up dingers for him. My God,
he hit one, and then damn it, who was it? Somebody hit a walk off. Dude, we clawed back into that game. I'm not even going to talk about it, but that his 60th was on us. So that's
well, He might have 2 more by the end of that series. So,
So thanks for bringing that up.
yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, Dad.
Right?
Okay. And then going to your division, we had Miami. They were down 28-7 to Baltimore, and it looked like Baltimore was just absolutely in control of that game. I was already celebrating because, I've been saying that I don't believe in Miami just yet, and then they have a crazy comeback. Do you think Miami's for real, or do you think it's kind of like what we saw with the Raiders and Baltimore just fell asleep at the wheel coming out of halftime?
I don't think that this means that there's some juggernaut in the AFC. I'll tell you that. I will say that Baltimore does this um, pretty regularly. The one difference is they end up winning these games close or had in the past. Um, and so then people are a lot more forgiving when you come away with the win, anyways. They have given up a lot of late points to teams over the last few years under Harbaugh and with Lamar Jackson. As far as whose fault it is, I don't really know. Honestly, I don't think they reacted to him at all in the second half. Miami came out and stuck to their guns, and I think they adjusted. And some of those plays, there's no reason. I know Tyreek's fast. I know Waddle's fast. There is no reason for them to have that much space before any defender is, even close to making a tackle, let alone putting hands on them. And some of those throws, I mean, they're underthrown.
Yep.
Some of the routes that they had to cut off and come back to, but you had no defender. I don't know. Good win for them. That's amazing to come back that way. Absolute amazing, amazing game, to never quit and stick to it. But I do think I think Baltimore is on the decline, and a lot of people I know disagree with me on that, but they're not the scary defense that they once were, and their
No.
offense is one-dimensional. Do they have some big plays once in a while? Do they stun people with these, big wild games? Absolutely. Kind of to the point of Kyler Murray. That shit at the end of your game was ridiculous. It's kind of the same stuff that Baltimore pulls off once in a while.
Yep.
I'm not sold on either of them, but I just think one team let up and one team put their foot to the floor, and there you go.
See, and I like Mike McDaniel, but
I love him. I think he's an amazing guy.
I'm just not buying in quite yet. And your brother-in-law had Tua on his bench, so that was unfortunate for him because our podcast league, thanks to Stephon Diggs going off. But no, I think you're absolutely right with Baltimore in terms of their defense. I don't think they should have let Anthony Averett walk. Obviously, that he came to the Raiders. He was contributing until he broke his thumb, and I still think he'll be back to contribute and help our team. But I do think Bateman is an absolute stud at wide receiver. They have Mark Andrews. I think Lamar's on his revenge tour since he didn't get paid, and he absolutely balled out. I don't know if you saw that. I think it was an 83-yard scamper where he outrun everyone on the defense. So
also ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I think Baltimore is the better team in that game. I just don't know what happened in that second half. But what were you going to say about this game?
I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
Okay.
There's probably something terrible about Baltimore.
Probably because you hate them, but it's fine. I get it.
No, I don't know. Those games like that are so weird, and I hate to call them a fluke because
it happened
put that many points late.
If you look at all the upsets that happened, like where teams had controlling positions in games, like you saw what happened to the Browns. They were winning that entire game. Chubb was having a fantastic game, and they somehow let the Jets come back in and upset them. So I don't know what the theme is here, but it definitely happened to quite a few favorites.
I'll actually dive into that real quick. I think because I don't know if you saw the coverage, like there was places trying to insinuate that Chubb should have went down instead of going into the end zone. And then flashing back to a game, it might have been last year where he went out of bounds to win the game. And Absolutely not. In that situation and in that point, you want that dude to score because you do not think that you're going to give up that many points like that.
No.
So I thought, that was pretty unfair to Chubb because, he carried your ass the entire game.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. I mean, lightning strikes sometimes, and it was in the Jets' favor. That was crazy. But the thing that I forgot, as far as Miami being for real, I mean, obviously this next game they play Buffalo. If you want to be real, I'm not saying they got to win that game because I don't think they will. But if
Got to
you're
be
a real
competitive.
contender, you have got to be in that game.
Yeah.
If you lose like the Titans did to them, you're out of that conversation. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's done. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to see that game because, I mean, obviously we're really pushing for Josh Allen, but that'll be their biggest test of the season is how they go against Buffalo.
For sure.
Really, anybody in the AFC, but.
All right. So moving on from Miami and Baltimore, what's going on with the Colts? I mean, they're 0-1, like we talked about. They tied against the Texans and then lost pretty embarrassingly to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you think that's growing pains? What's going on there?
No, I've always back when we used to have 2,000-yard rushers all the time. Their next season, there's a reason you don't have back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons. You know, it's not something that happens regularly. I think Jonathan Taylor had this just meteoric rise, and I was worried about it. I didn't think he was going to have the same kind of year. I thought he was too high in the fantasy drafts because I don't believe that it's possible to do that 2 seasons in a row. So you take him out of the equation, and what do you have left? I mean, I thought Matt Ryan was going to carry him and kind of have a resurgence, but it's just not happening. I don't know. There's nobody on that team right now that scares me. There's no wideout that they have that scares me right now.
Yeah, I think that's what's hurting them the most is just they don't have like T.Y. Hilton used to scare defenses, but
right.
I mean,
you put 8 in the box, take away Jonathan Taylor, and you beat the Colts. And the teams that are able to do it is surprising.
I can't remember who they have at wide receiver that's good.
They have Pittman.
That's what I was thinking. I think he'll have a big year.
He's okay,
but yeah, he's not going to scare anyone if you can bracket him. And yeah, if you can take, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, let's not say he's not doing anything. I mean, he's third in rushing.
He's still an amazing running back. I don't mean it as a knock on him. I just
can't
don't
rely
think that
on
kind
him
of
to carry your whole offense.
And that production is not sustainable for 2 full seasons. You're just not going to do it. He's not going to have the year he had last year.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like they've regressed on defense, and obviously the offense isn't gelling right now. I think some of that's got something to do with Matt Ryan being behind center and probably new system to him and all that fun stuff when he's been in the same system for the last, 13 years, whatever it's been. So,
the one thing I would say though, the Texans tie, I got nothing for you. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The Jacksonville loss, I think there's something different about Jacksonville for me. I mean, I talked about it in the offseason a little bit. I think they're finally starting to piece some things together. I think a lot of it has to do with who's leading that coaching staff and who's leading the players now. I mean, we don't need to get into that, but there's a confidence with Trevor Lawrence that wasn't there before. Some of the run games getting going. I mean, Etienne's back and healthy, at least for now.
James Robinson has been running out of his mind.
And really, that's true. They do have a two-headed dragon back there at this point. But I think some of that does have to do with Jacksonville maybe stepping up. And, dude, I'm not saying it's this year, but I would love to see Jacksonville take that division. Well, that would be amazing. And they could this year.
They lead the division right now, sadly.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to jinx them.
It's crazy. It's crazy to me. And I thought Jacksonville would win a lot more games this year than they did last year, obviously, with Doug Peterson at the helm. I think that's going to be good for Trevor Lawrence. We've talked about that, but I definitely didn't think this would be the year. But, I mean,
crazy.
That's the thing about the Colts is I think they'll have till midway through the season to get it together because I don't think anyone's going to run away with this division. So I still think they have the best roster in that division, but I mean, they got to start doing something soon enough. And then the Bengals. I mean, that's another team in your division. What's going on with them? I mean, you guys beat them with basically no offense.
Um,
Your defense did a lot of the work, but what's going on?
I don't even know what to think about them. I go back to our last pod and I talked about not playing your starters in the off season. I mean, there's a million different things you can say that might contribute. I think the fact that their entire offense did not play at all during the preseason. Then you take Joe Burrow, who had appendectomy and lost a bunch of weight and is struggling to put it back on. I mean, there's some things there, but even outside of that, he does not look like the same quarterback.
Well,
And I mean, I go to say that, but really, if you think about it, I mean, they had a run late. He struggled last year as well.
yeah.
It's not like he had this perfect season. It was just a Cinderella finish that didn't quite finish. Um, I don't know, man. I thought the Steelers came out and popped him in the mouth, and that's all that was, and it was this awesome game for us. But to go against a Cooper Rush led Dallas team and
Yeah, that was
basically get
puzzling to me.
handled. I don't that defense was stout. I don't understand what's going on
I
offense
think,
or defense. They're
yeah,
just
I
not
think
up to par.
defense is kind of what the Raiders are going through right now. The offense can't stay on the field, and so defense is left out there. And I think
For
Burrow. I
sure.
mean, last year he got hit more than any quarterback I think ever. He got
Get hit a
sacked
lot.
a record amount of time, and
That'll
that's
happen when
kind
you're
of
in our division.
yeah, and that's kind of kept up this season. I think he's been hit the most this season of any other quarterback, and like you
Oh,
said, he's
yeah.
coming off the surgery. He's coming off, that last season. So
I think
I
we
think
had
that's got
7 week
something to do
1,
with it. But man,
maybe 6.
him and Jamar Chase haven't been on the same page yet. So I think they'll
And
turn it
even
around as
Mixon.
well, but it's crazy that they're 0-2 already as well. And then Titans, we already talked about them at the top. They lost to the
I think they're
Giants
in
on that
trouble.
two. Yeah, they lost to the Giants on that 2-point conversion, and then got absolutely stomped by the Bills. They moved on to Malik at least at the end of that game, and I think some of it was Tannehill was just getting absolutely destroyed on almost every snap. So I don't know if they were thinking more. Uh,
They
Malik
interviewed
is
Tannehill after the game,
he was
and that's
mad.
what he said. He was mad, but that's what he said was that there's no point in getting anybody injured in a game that they're obviously not going to win.
Yeah.
And I get that too. I mean, I think it was the right call for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. Um, I don't know, man. Like I told you, I thought the Bills, I was predicting just an absolute, I mean, destruction, and I wasn't disappointed. I think
Well,
they're in a lot of trouble.
you
Derrick
took
Henry isn't
away
going to save them.
AJ Brown, which was really the only offensive weapon they
Only
had
threat.
outside of Derrick Henry. Um, so that was kind of Tannehill's safety valve is play action to Henry and then bomb it up to AJ, and he would come down with it. So you take that away, you still have Todd Downing calling plays. Everyone, we warned you about it, but you still went with him,
Uh,
and I think he'll
every
be the
time I
first.
think every time I think he could turn a page and
Nope, nope,
maybe
not
stop
a
being
chance.
him, and then I'm like, there he is. He's
No,
back.
and I'm sure he's a great guy, which is why he keeps getting these positions. But I mean, at the end of the day, you see what he puts out there, and it's not good. So um, I think we'll see Malik a lot more before too long, and I hope the Raiders take care of business and beat the Titans. It's going to be tough because we're in Nashville, but we'll see. We'll see. What about your Steelers? I know you didn't get to
Ugh.
watch it at least live, but did you go back and watch that?
Yeah, I went back and watched. I watched highlights, and then I actually turned on the replay a little bit later. But um, I don't know, man. I'm pretty frustrated about 3 things. I can break it down to, but I'm going to start off with saying the big surprise. Uh, the biggest concern going into this year was the offensive line, and don't get me wrong, their run blocking is still suspect. Um, but their pass blocking has not been terrible. It is not our issue. So I'll start with that. But the 3 things that are really bothering me right now is some of it is on Mitch. Um, he does not like to stay in a pocket even when it's clean, and that's starting to really bother me. when we do finally set up a good pocket, he's still trying to roll out and bail out, and he's missing a lot of reads because of it. We're having some guys that are wide open, and he's not seeing them, and he's throwing the check down. And check downs are not going to win your game for you. I'm sorry. Yes, they have big plays once in a while, but that cannot be all you do. So there's that. One that surprises me, and I think some of it has to do with the fact that he's used to being hit as soon as he gets the ball. Najee's vision has been interesting over the last 2 games. Sometimes we have a wide open hole and he's just not seeing it, and he's making a cut and darting for a 2-3 yard gain when, we have a 6 yard wide hole off to the right. So that's bothering me a little bit, but I think some of that has to do with obviously how he's got to make a move, and I think he's making a move before he needs to sometimes. And then the very last thing, I'm so frustrated with Matt Canada. I don't even know what to say at this point. He showed what I thought was some very innovative ways of using our offense in the preseason, and I've yet to see any of it during the regular season, and I do not understand why. I'm starting to think that maybe he's calling Craig Bull for coaching tips. I don't know what the deal is.
That's what I told you off air. I said,
seriously,
I wonder if he's from the Craig Bull tree, because it looks like.
Did you catch any of the player interviews after the game?
Yeah. Pickens was not happy. Let's say that.
If that doesn't, I can't even. That was Mitchell's response was, well, I'd like to see us get a game plan implemented where we get George Givens included a little more. Okay, so there's that. Chase Claypool, who's never been very quiet, was like, hey, man, I don't call the plays.
Yep.
All right. Every player they interviewed was like, I don't know what to tell you, man. We get it. We're not calling the plays. We're running. And no one is happy in this offense. So I love Mike Tomlin. I will always believe in Mike Tomlin. But fire this son of a bitch and let's get somebody else. I'm so tired of it.
I think that
we have so much.
I think he's available.
Don't even say that. We have so much talent on the team regardless of our shortcomings, and we're not using any of it. We're not utilizing it. And then, so those are my 3 takeaways from the game. Obviously, we lost to the Patriots, for anybody who I didn't clarify before I got on my rant. I thought we were going to have this game. I thought this was going to be an easy game for us. I still think it should have been.
Predicted the score, just picked the wrong team.
Yeah, thanks for that. The defense was amazing, and there were still people that were critical of the defense late in the game, which is mind-boggling to me because they did everything in their power to keep us in that game.
Well, the frustrating thing was, I think if your rookie punt returner fields that cleanly, I think we're looking at a different game, but he basically gave them the ball at the 10 or 15, something like that.
There's so many layers to that. We only had 10 men on the field during that punt return.
Need to get Richie
these
B.
are the kind of things. These are the kind of things that can't happen. I don't know, man. there's some positives I'll take out of it too. Minka is on an absolute tear 2 games into the season. There are people who thought he had a down year last year. I don't think he did. I think he was covering for holes in our defense. But he's returned to the prior year's stats, so far.
Yep.
But Minka he's phenomenal. I'm super pumped about that. I don't know if you could pick it up on the TV. You could barely make them out, but the Pickett chants are already starting.
I figured they would be, and I really don't think that's going to fix anything. If he plays marginally better than Mitch, it's still not going to be great because of the play calling. And that's I should have mentioned that when I was talking about the Raiders as well, because there was a lot of the same sentiment coming from Raiders players and saying, hey, that's above my pay grade. The coach calls the plays, whatever, things like that. So when discussing that epic breakdown. So I think both of our teams are in that same situation where they're, obviously frustrated.
Problems.
And
the one thing I will say go ahead.
I was just going to say your offensive line looks better than I was expecting, at least. But
yeah, the only thing I'll say about the Trubisky Pickett thing is I mean, I will go ahead and say I think Pickett is our quarterback by the end of the season. I don't think it'll wait until next season.
Nope.
I do think that he will probably have a little more success because I think his vision and his reads were better even in the preseason. I'm not saying he's going to come in and we're all of a sudden going to be a 12-win team or anything like that, but I think he can put together a decent campaign. I'm pretty disappointed in Mitch up to this point because I thought he would be harassed by our offensive line letting him down, and that really hasn't been the case. I think maybe not all of it was on a Chicago team, not being around him. I think it was a marriage as far as that goes. I think he'd be an excellent backup quarterback. I guess I'll just say that. And I knew he was a placeholder, so it's hard to be too disappointed. And it is only 2 games into the season. But the Patriots were just a team that we had to have that win. We have some tough teams down the stretch. So I mean, when you're supposed to win a game, you need to win a game. So I don't know, a little frustrating, but on to next week. We got the Browns. Thursday Night Football.
Yeah. Can't wait to see that one. Go Steelers. And then just one last note on the NFL. Mike Evans got suspended for his role in the dust-up between the Saints and the Bucs. This is not his first involvement with Lattimore. And I think that's why he got suspended, is because it's happened before. And honestly, I really think taking Lattimore out had a better impact for the Bucs. I think it kind of woke them up, because at that point I think it was still tied 3-3, and then the Bucs ended up winning. I think it was 20-10, or was it 20-3? I don't remember, but either way,
it was 20-10.
Yeah, Bucs dominated that game. Defense looked really good. Jameis is playing with broken back, which reminds me of the Mike Tyson interview when they asked him what was broken, and he's like, my back, and they're like, what part? And he said, spinal.
Spinal.
Just waiting for that recreation by Jameis in an interview.
Give it time. To your point, though, I mean, Lattimore was obviously a bigger loss to the Saints. With Tom Brady at the helm, losing Mike Evans isn't necessarily crippling.
They did sign Cole Beasley, so
I've seen that.
That's interesting. I think that's a good pickup for them. He's only on the practice squad now, but I'm sure he wouldn't have signed without a promise.
He'll be up within
a elevation.
week or 2.
Yeah.
I do wonder, I mean, if he's game ready, game
I'm sure
shape.
He is.
I guess he has some time, but
he's been looking, and he's that perfect match for Tom Brady. I mean, he's in that same vein as Edelman, Amendola,
Wes
Welker. Yep, that same vein of quick slot receivers that are, shifty, know their routes, all that fun stuff. So I think that'll be a good pickup for them. And they really look dangerous, especially that defense run by Mr. Todd Bowles. So, all right. Anything else you have? I just got one quick note on the A's, but I think that's all I have. So
I think you already got my Buccos update. We're trying to be part of history by giving Judge some homers.
Just serving them up.
Moving on.
Okay, well, my only note is just that the A's are playing decent right now. Tony Kemp just hit a 3-run home run, so they're beating the Mariners, which are currently second in the AL West, and I think they are the first overall wild card. So hopefully my A's can at least play spoilers for other teams in our division, because obviously we aren't going to the postseason. So that's our lot in life right now, and if we can win, all but 5 games going forward, we won't lose 100 games, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. So with that being said, anything else you have, Kyle, before we cut it?
No, sir. Just happy I could make it on. But
yeah, it's great to have you. And like I said, congrats to you and Carlene. Happy that old Jack's
Thank you so much.
happy.
We're beyond excited.
Can't wait to meet the little guy. But with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we appreciate your comments, your feedback, liking, sharing, subscribing to us, and we hope to catch you on the next one.